My mother kicked me out at 16, saying my siblings were her real children. 17 years later, she showed up, demanding $50K for their college. But when I got a restraining order for harassment, she lost everything and ended up alone. I'm 33 years old, work in upper management at a pretty big company, and honestly, I need to tell this story because what happened a few weeks ago literally left me speechless. And that's saying something, because I thought I'd already seen everything my mother was capable of. I guess I should start from the beginning, when she had me at 20, because that's where this whole mess starts, you know? My biological father, well, that guy took off before I was born. I mean, my mom got pregnant, and he basically said no thanks and disappeared. So she raised me alone the first few years. I don't remember much from that time, honestly, but I do remember things were hard. Like we were always tight on money. We lived in a small apartment, that kind of thing. When I was like 8 years old, I think it was summer, because I remember it being crazy hot. She met Gregory. He was older than her, had a stable job, was the typical guy who seemed responsible and reliable, and my mom fell in love fast, too fast. Looking back, they got married like a year after meeting, and at first everything seemed fine. I mean, Gregory wasn't mean to me or anything. He was just there, present, but distant. You know what I mean? Things changed when I was like 12, maybe almost 13, when my mom got pregnant with twins. And look, I understand having babies is hard and all that, but from the moment those kids were born, something changed in the house. It wasn't our house anymore. It was their house, Gregory's, my mom's, and the twins. I kind of became like an employee there. Like they were always asking me to watch the babies, to clean, to do this and that. But when it came to important things like family events or decisions about vacations or whatever, it was always about the twins. My mom would say things like, "We need to save for when the kids go to school," or "We can't go to that place because the babies are too young." And I'd think, what about me? But I never said anything because, I don't know, I guess I hoped things would go back to how they were before. But they didn't. In fact, they got worse. When I turned 16, right after my birthday that basically nobody celebrated because the twins had some event at school or whatever, my mom and Gregory sat me down at the kitchen table. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon. There was a sports program on TV that Gregory was watching at half volume, and my mom had that face you make when you're about to say something you know is going to hurt. They told me, and literally these were their words, that I needed to start planning my future outside of that house. That they had to think about the twins now. That they were their real kids, their exact words, real kids. And that they needed to save money for their college, for their activities, to give them the best life possible. Gregory said that when he was 16, he was already working, as if that justified anything. And my mom just added that it was time for me to learn to be independent. You know what it feels like when your own mother tells you her other kids are more important than you? It's like they rip something out from inside you, like you can't breathe right and everything feels unreal. I tried to talk, say something, ask if they were serious, but my mom just cut me off and said they'd already decided that I had until the end of the month to find somewhere to stay. End of the month was 2 weeks. 2 weeks to find a place to live at 16 years old. Gregory wasn't even looking at me, just kept watching his sports program like we were talking about the weather. I called my grandparents, my mom's parents, crying that same night, and they couldn't believe what they were hearing. My grandmother literally screamed over the phone asking what kind of mother does that, and they told me to come to their house immediately, not to wait even one more day in that house. I moved in with them the next day. Just took my clothes and my personal stuff, and when I was leaving, my mom told me, with the twins standing right there watching me, that she hoped this would teach me to value what I had, as if she was doing me a favor by kicking me out on the street. Living with my grandparents was the best thing that could have happened to me, honestly. They were amazing. They supported me in everything, but they also pushed me to be better. I got a part-time job at a supermarket, literally bagging groceries and stocking shelves, but it was money and it was mine. I finished high school living with them, and my grades were good. Like I wasn't the best student, but I wasn't bad either. And I managed to get a partial scholarship for college. It wasn't enough to cover everything, obviously. So I had to take out a student loan. And my uncle, my mom's brother, Co-signed it for me because my grandparents were already retired and didn't qualify. I worked the entire time. I was in college, like I'd go to classes in the morning, work in the afternoons and evenings, do homework when I could, barely, slept, but I did it because I had no choice. During all that time, since I left the house, my mom tried to contact me like 3 times. Once was at Christmas the first year. She sent a text message saying the twins were asking about me, as if that was going to make me forget everything. Another time was when I graduated high school. She showed up at the ceremony without warning, tried to take pictures with me and act like the proud mother, and I literally completely ignored her. The third time was when I started college. She sent me a long email talking about how she had also sacrificed a lot in life and that she hoped I would understand her decisions someday. I never responded to any of those messages. For me, she stopped existing the day she kicked me out of her house. I graduated from college with honors, got an entry-level job at a tech company, and just focused on working hard and moving up. It wasn't easy, obviously. There were days when I was so tired I could barely think, but I kept going because every promotion, every raise, every recognition was like proof that I didn't need her, that I had achieved everything without her. Years passed. I changed companies twice looking for better opportunities, always working harder than everyone else, always taking the projects nobody wanted, and it worked. At 30, I was already in middle management. At 32, they promoted me to senior manager, and 3 months ago, right when I turned 33, they gave me a position in upper management with a salary that honestly, I never imagined I'd have. That's where the story gets interesting, because it turns out my uncle, the one who co-signed my student loan, was at a family gathering like 2 months ago. I think it was someone's birthday or something, and my mom was there with Gregory and the twins. The twins are like 21 now. They're college age, and apparently my uncle, who was proud of me and didn't think about the consequences, mentioned that I had just gotten a big promotion, that I was making good money, that I had a nice house. Basically gave my mom all the information she needed to do what she did next. A week after that family gathering, I'm at my house on a Saturday afternoon, literally watching a movie and eating pizza, when the doorbell rings. I open the door, and there are my mom and Gregory, standing at my entrance like nothing, like 17 years hadn't passed since they kicked me out of their house. My mom had that fake smile she used when she wanted something, and Gregory looked uncomfortable, like he knew this was wrong but was going to support my mom anyway. My first reaction was to close the door in their faces, but curiosity won out. I wanted to know what the hell they wanted after so long. My mom started with the typical speech about how long it had been since we'd seen each other, that I looked good, that the house was nice, all that superficial stuff, and I was just standing there waiting for her to get to the point. And she got to it. Boy, did she. Get to it. She told me the twins wanted to go to college, that it was an expensive college, that they had spent all their savings raising them and now didn't have enough money for tuition. Gregory added that they had thought of me because, according to them, I owed them something for having raised me all those years. My mom literally said it was my responsibility as the older brother to help my siblings, that family is family, and that she knew I had the money now. I just stood there staring at them like they were speaking another language. Really? Did they really think I was going to give them money after what they did? I asked them if they were joking, if they really believed I owed them anything. And my mom had the nerve to say that she had raised me for 16 years, that counted for something. I responded, and I still remember exactly what I said, that she had kept me alive for 16 years because it was her legal obligation, nothing more, and that the day she kicked me out of her house to save money for her real kids, using her own words, had ended whatever relationship we had. Gregory tried to interrupt, saying I was being dramatic, that had been a long time ago, and that's when I literally exploded. I told them to get out of my house, to never come back, that I didn't want to know anything about them or the twins or anyone in their family. My mom started crying, that manipulative crying she always used, saying she couldn't believe how cruel I'd become, that she was my mother and deserved respect. I told her that a mother doesn't kick her child out on the street to save money, that a mother doesn't say her other kids are more real than the first one, and that she had stopped being my mother 17 years ago. I literally pushed them toward the door and locked it. I thought that would be it, that they'd get the message. But oh no, my mom doesn't give up that easily. She started sending me emails, like 1 or 2 a day, each one longer and more manipulative than the last. She talked about all the sacrifices she had made for me, about how she had given up her youth to raise me, about how she had worked hard to give me a roof and food. She listed specific things, like, I bought you these clothes when you were 10, I took you to the doctor when you got sick, I paid for your school supplies, as if those things were special favors and not literally the bare minimum expected of a parent. She said, I was selfish, that I was being immature, that someday I would understand how hard it is to be a parent. I deleted all the emails without reading them after the third one. Then, like 2 weeks after the incident at my house, she showed up at my work. My work. She came to reception and asked to see me, saying she was my mother and it was urgent. The receptionist called me. I told her not to let her through, that she wasn't welcome. But my mom made a scene. Like she started yelling that I was her son and she had a right to talk to me. I had to personally go, down to get her out of the building, and it was humiliating because there were people watching, my colleagues, my boss even walked by and saw a part of the show. My mom was yelling that she just wanted to talk, that it was reasonable to ask a successful son for help, that the twins deserved the same opportunities I had had. I told her in front of everyone that she had denied me those opportunities, that everything I had I'd gotten on my own, and to leave before I called security. She left crying, acting like I was the villain. That night, I was so angry, I couldn't even sleep. All that rage I'd been holding for years was coming out, and I didn't know what to do with it. The next day, I talked to HR at my work, explained the situation in case she came back, and they were very understanding. Told me they'd inform security not to let her in. I thought maybe that would stop her, that she'd finally understand she wasn't going to get anything from me. But things got really ugly like a week after that. I got home from work. It was like 7 at night. It was getting dark, and my mom was standing outside waiting for me. I told her to leave, that I was going to report her if she didn't leave, and she started with the same old speech, that I was her son, that I needed to help her, blah, blah, blah. I tried to walk toward my door, ignoring her, and she literally grabbed my arm, pulled me toward her, and when I pulled away, she pushed me. It wasn't like a hard push, but it caught me by surprise and made me step back. Then she started yelling at me, calling me selfish, a bad son, saying I'd regret treating her like this, that someday I'd need something from her, and then I'd see how it felt. That's when I took out my phone and called the police. My mom went quiet when she saw I was dialing, like she couldn't believe I was doing it, and started backing up saying it wasn't that serious, that she was just frustrated. I told her it was too late for that she had crossed a line by showing up at my work, and now by physically attacking me at my own home. The police arrived in like 10 minutes, took my statement, warned her that she couldn't come near me or my property again, and I told them I wanted to press charges for assault and that I wanted a restraining order. The legal process was quick, honestly. I had evidence of the harassing emails, the testimony from my work staff about the scene she made there, and the police report from the physical incident. The judge approved the temporary restraining order immediately and scheduled a hearing to make it permanent. My mom didn't show up to the hearing, didn't even send a lawyer, so the judge made it permanent by default. Now legally, she can't come within 100 meters of me, can't contact me by any means, nothing. What's interesting is what happened after with the rest of the family. Turns out, when all this blew up, my grandparents, who had always supported me, finally confronted my mom about everything, about kicking me out at 16, about showing up only when she needed money, about harassing me. They told her they were ashamed of her, that they couldn't believe she had done all that. My uncle, the one who co-signed my loan, also told her he'd messed up by telling her about my success, that he thought maybe she'd be glad to know I was doing well, but that he'd clearly underestimated her ability to make everything about herself. Gregory and my uncle told me this like 2 weeks ago, took the twins to live with his parents. Apparently, this whole situation made him realize some things about my mom, or maybe he just got tired of the drama. I don't know. The twins couldn't afford the expensive college they wanted. I think they're going to a community college or something. And honestly, I don't care. I know that sounds cold, but those kids grew up watching how their parents treated me and never said anything, never questioned anything, so I don't feel anything for them. My mom now lives alone in a small apartment. Doesn't have a job because she hasn't worked in years. She depended on Gregory's money, and she's basically cut off from almost the entire family. My grandparents talk to her once in a while because she's their daughter, but the relationship is broken, like they only maintain minimal contact. My uncle doesn't talk to her at all. And me, well, I continue with my life as if she doesn't exist. Because for me, she doesn't exist. Do I feel bad about how it all ended? Honestly, no. I feel like she dug her own grave, you know? She had 17 years to try to fix things, to apologize, to try to rebuild some kind of relationship, but she only showed up when she thought she could get money out of me. That tells me everything I need to know about what kind of person she is. Sometimes I think about how things would be if she had been different, if she had treated me the way she treated the twins. But then I realize there's no point in thinking about those what-ifs, because reality is what it is. Now, I'm 33 years old. I have a successful career that I built completely on my own. I have a house I bought with my own money, and I have relationships with people who actually care about me, like my grandparents and my uncle. I don't need someone who only sees me as an ATM. And if someday the twins try to contact me, I'll tell them exactly the same thing. I told my mom that I don't owe them anything. That family isn't just blood. It's who was there when things were hard, and they definitely weren't there for me.